I'm M. Sauter, better known as Pints and Panels.
And I'm Don Tess, better known as the Dawn of Beer.
Welcome to the 9th episode of the All About Beer podcast. Every 2 weeks, we talk with leading experts and take a deep dive into one topic in beer.
Visit allaboutbeer.com and follow us on social media at allaboutbeer. And visit patreon.com/allaboutbeer to support this show and others like it.
This week on the show, we're going to be talking about Kolsch, one of my favorite styles. Our guests are
mine too.
Oh, I love it.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh yeah, that's fine. It's fine. You just got so excited.
I just got so excited. Yes.
I think if anyone's going to talk about Kolsch, it's going to be you and me because I love Kolsch so much, and you love Kolsch so much.
I do, and I know I'm going to sound like a total nerd for this, but what I love about Kolsch,
you a nerd? Come on now.
You and I, we both know a lot about beer, and what I love about Kolsch is it's magic, because it's one of these things where when it's well done, you can't explain what makes great Kolsch.
No,
great.
You can't.
It's magic, and that is beer at its best. It's magical.
It's so good. Have you been to Cologne? Because I just came back from Cologne.
Yes, I have been 3 times. Yeah,
I've only been twice.
But it's I can't even say how much I love it.
It's so good. Favorite Kolsch house, really quick, before we talk about our guests?
For sentimental reasons, I like Peter's. And I think it's pretty hard to get outside of Cologne, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I have been 3 times, like I say, and every time we go, just at the next table or sometimes at our table, because very often you share a table, we meet somebody really cool and friendly. The people of Cologne are truly wonderful, and
they really are. It's a very friendly city, very approachable, small but intimate. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, so Peter's is always our first stop, and we will go 2 or 3 times because we love it.
Oh, so I don't know if I have a favorite, but I did get to go to Gildan, which was a recommendation from Monique, who works at the Craft Beer Corner, and I had never been, and I was with our pal Jay Brooks, who had also never been. And that was her favorite Kolsch house. And it was rowdy, raucous. It was busy. It was a Saturday night, so it was a lot going on. But it was fun. And it was just the beer was really dry and not too bitter. It was very real. I just remember it being it went down so easy. And the food was really good. It was a really nice vibe. It was great. I mean, every Kolsch is slightly different. There's, they all are great.
And every Kolsch house is slightly different too. So,
yes. Yeah. I really enjoy. I don't know if I have a favorite, but I really enjoyed that stop when I was in Cologne last. So it was great. I loved it. Yeah. I love it. I want to go back. I always want to go to Germany.
Me too.
So we'll introduce our guests and get into a conversation. But first, we're going to take a moment to hear from our sponsors of the show. And if you would like to help support the All About Beer podcast, reach out to podcast@allaboutbeer.com.
Hi, this is John Hall, the editor of All About Beer, inviting you to check out the Drink Beer, Think Beer podcast. It's available on all of the major platforms, and the weekly show features long-form conversations with brewers, growers, and personalities from the beer industry. New episodes release every Wednesday. Just search Drink Beer, Think Beer.
Jeremy Altier has been brewing at professional brew pubs for almost 15 years. He loves brewing and talking about and drinking true-to-style traditional beers. He is currently the brewer at Royal Oak Brew Pub in Royal Oak, Michigan, which is just outside of Detroit. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me.
So we're here to talk about your award-winning Kolsch, which won gold at the Great American Beer Festival this year. How are you feeling about that?
Pretty excited and a little shocked still.
Why would you be shocked? I've heard that you've been brewing for a while. The Royal Oak's been brewing this beer for a while. What's the shock of winning a medal? What's that like?
I mean, obviously it's exciting. It's obviously great that we were recognized for brewing a beer that's been brewed there for now 30 years. We've always kept it clean. We've always kept it consistent. We've always celebrated Kolsch at the Royal Oak Brewery. So it's always been one of our top sellers because it's what we drink. It's what we enjoy. And it's been sent in now for, the brewer before me, Tim Saluski, he's been sending it in forever. I've been sending it in now. I've been there for I've been at the Royal Oak Brewery for 7 years now. We've sent it in every year, and it's always done well. It's always made it, to the last round typically. And it's just awesome that it finally won, a gold.
Yeah, it's it's a nice feeling to like you pat on the back and be like, yeah, you're the best Kolsch.
Yes.
And it's not an easy beer to brew. I guess my question is, so you've been entering it for so long. Did you do anything different this year?
It wasn't this year, but I mean, since I've, every brewer puts their own little spin on everything, and a smart brewer doesn't completely change it. They tweak it over the years. Because you don't want, like, in a brew pub where everybody comes in all the time to get the same tasting beer, you want it to be clean and consistent, right? When I started there was a bag of Vienna in the beer. I took that out since when I started. It's not uncommon for the bag of Vienna to be in there, but I've taken it out. I've been mashing in a little lower than I used to. It's just, other than that, it hasn't much. I've taken the hops back a little bit, but since I took the bag of Vienna out, like, you don't want the hops to be as assertive. You want it to be a little delicate still. And with that bag of Vienna out of there, it takes a little bit less body out of it, a little less flavor. Malt flavor, I should say.
I know Don has a geeky question to ask you. I know you do. Don't hold back. Don't hold back, Don. Don't hold back.
I just wanted to, I guess, because you talk about taking out the Vienna and, dialing back the hops a bit. What is the basic recipe then? Because I guess, to me, Kolsch, I think, is a fairly simple beer recipe formulation wise. And so I always wonder, for a style like this, how do you make the magic happen to make a gold medal beer when, everybody's using pale malt and everybody's using German hops? And like, what do you do that makes yours amazing?
Well, I mean, I know I get to ask this a lot. But my first answer is always, I just do what I'm supposed to do. Obviously, like, it's a light, delicate beer, so everything has to be clean. You have to make sure you're cleaning everything the right way. You got to make sure you're mashing in at the right temperature. You want the beer to be delicate. It's a Kolsch. Like, you want all that flavor. You want all that nuance. But none of it can be assertive. You want the hop flavor, but you want to pay attention to water. So you want the water to be soft enough to where those hops don't. I keep using the word assertive, but so the hops aren't assertive. You want it just everything to kind of be balanced in there. You obviously have to have an understanding of the yeast. I use everything I do it's German malt, German hops, and Kolsch yeast. I ferment mine a little bit lower than my understanding what most Cologne breweries ferment at. But I do that because that's what my customers like. And that's what I ferment it a little lower because it makes it a little bit crisper. It makes it a little bit cleaner. Makes it a little bit easier to drink. My understanding is a lot of Cologne brewer, like actual true Cologne brewers, ferment higher to get more of that fruitiness from the yeast.
More esters.
More esters.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know how technical I should get.
No, you can get as technical as you want. This is a beer podcast for nerds and customers and all sorts. So you want to be as nerdy as you'd like. Go have at it.
Okay.
Well, because my next question has to do with fermenter geometry.
I was going to say, you're talking to Don again.
I was wondering if you do anything, like what you explained there was awesome. And I think one of the beauties of Kolsch is its simplicity, but do you do anything like specially import whole leaf hops, or do you have an open fermenter or a square fermenter or anything weird that you do to make your Kolsch so amazing?
No, not at all. I mean, it's everything
practices.
You're supposed to have. Yeah, it's good practices and everything you're supposed to have in a brewery and everything you're supposed to do.
Okay, awesome. I like it.
I'm trying to think of. I have so you're a small brewery because you're a brew pub. What is your fermentation size? What is your capacity? So how much Kolsch are you making at a clip?
Well, I have essentially a 14 barrel system.
Okay.
Obviously we've been selling a ton more since then, so I'm making it constantly.
Interesting.
But it's always been, and like I said, it's always been something we've pushed. It's always something like a Kolsch is something we've always celebrated. So it's always like there's always a batch in the fermenter, and the stuff to make a batch, ready to go. We sell, obviously, like I said, a decent amount. I mentioned a little bit before we started recording. We do what's called a Kolsching hour. It started about 10 years ago with Tim, who was the brewer before me, now the GM. He started the Kolsching hour, where we serve Kolsch the traditional way, and Staggens and Krantz. We'd make the check marks on all the coasters. So I mean, those weekends, that day we move a lot of Kolsch at that point. And it's fun because we have been, especially in the brewer world, but in the beer nerd world, all that stuff, we've become known for the place to get a Kolsch.
Oh, I love that.
I did want to ask then, it sounds like you're turning over a lot of Kolsch. So are you able to propagate the yeast, and therefore do you think your yeast is maybe adapted to your brewery, and that's why maybe that's some of your magic, or are you doing
I don't have a laboratory. We're just a small brew pub. I buy yeast just like everybody else does from like Y yeast. I tend to do up to 10 generations, but with me it's all taste, it's all smell. If I get a batch that you can tell something's going wrong in, or maybe might be going wrong in, you don't use that yeast again, you get new yeast in. We're just like I said, it's a small brew pub restaurant.
Is Kolsch your best seller, or what is your?
Typically, yes. Typically,
okay.
yes. Especially lately, and like I said, we've been pushing it. This is what I drink. It's what most of my friends drink that come in. All the brewer friends, all the normal friends, whatever. We all drink.
I love normal.
The normal people, the civilians.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're probably the only brewery in the world outside of Cologne that has Kolsch as your number one beer.
Yeah, I could most likely. I mean, obviously, we're still a brew pub in America, so IPA always sells great. It's always a fight with Kolsch in a way, but it never seems, especially like in the past 5 to 6 years, it never seems to beat Kolsch anymore. When I first started there, that was IPA was a little bit up there, but it's always kind of fought, one week Kolsch sells more, the next week IPA sells more. But lately the trend has been for the past 4 or 5 years that it's been Kolsch, and that might only be a keg a week kind of thing, but it's still, it's pretty awesome.
Hey, I think about Kolsch is that I love, because it ticks that boxes for new drinkers. It's light, it's refreshing, great food drink. It's great in all seasons. It's just a really nice style and a very approachable style as well. So the fact that you're brewing that correctly, it's selling super well, and then you win a gold medal. I mean, it just speaks volumes to the quality of what you guys are doing over there, and that's really exciting.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, it's like I said, it's fun. It's a hard style to brew. It's a hard style to win for. It's been exciting.
I judged at JBF. I judged a Kolsch round, and there was, I did first round Kolsches, and I mean, obviously I don't know what I'm drinking. And there was one when I think I've said this before, Kolsch when you have it. When you drink it, you taste it, there's something you can't describe. People are like, oh, it's a Kolsch. And you're like, just drink it. And there was one that was like, this is a Kolsch. And so
that was it.
Yeah, that's it. And it's one of the only styles I think of when I it when you have it.
Yeah.
Kolsch is it.
For sure. Especially when it's brewed right. There's a trend right now. And to me, there's nothing wrong with this, but there's a trend right now to dry hop it and use fruity hops and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, at that point, you're not making a Kolsch anymore. I personally, I don't like it when they call those Kolsches. You got to sell beer, so I get it. But like to me, you should just be calling that a blonde ale. Like it's just an American blonde ale at that point. It's not a Kolsch anymore. You want to use German noble hops. You want to use German malt. You want to want that little bit of fruity characteristic from the yeast. It's just I don't know. I mean, obviously it's I don't even know where I'm going with this, but
it's fine.
It kind of lost my train of thought. But I mean, and it's fine. Obviously, craft brewery has been built on innovation. You want to change things, but we're a very, very true to style, very traditional brew pub, and have been for a long time. I know what's going on around me. I've made the New England IPAs. I've made all that stuff. But when I brew a Kolsch, I want it to taste like a Kolsch. I don't want to. I'm not going to dry hop it with Citra.
I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Thank you for not doing that.
Yeah. I would drink.
You're very
that.
welcome.
Yeah. But
and then there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
Sometimes I say this to other brewers or other people, and they get very almost offended by it. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's probably a good blonde ale, but it's not a Kolsch anymore.
You're going by styles and traditional, and that's totally fine. I guess my next question is: people always say that Kolsches are hard to brew, but there's only some ingredients. Why do you think they're difficult to make?
It's all cleanliness. It's all you have to make sure everything's clean. You have to watch the pH. You have to watch all that. It's that the old thing where if you go to a brew pub or a brewery and you get the lightest beer, and if that has off flavors in it, their brewing practices are wrong. Or there's something going on there. Where Kolsch it's light, soft, delicate, easy to drink. If my brewing practices were something wrong in there anywhere, like you can taste it in that beer.
Yeah, it's nowhere to hide with Kolsch.
Yeah, exactly.
Unforgiving.
Very. I was going to say it's almost like it's like a naked beer. You can't I don't know why.
No, exactly.
I thought about that for some reason, and I was like, it's like it's naked. Like you really don't have anywhere to it's all out there. This is a good representation of your brewing. I love that. Where this is how we can do it. And if you can brew a good Kolsch, then who's to say that your brewing style is probably quite good. So I'd like to think so. I have a friend who's always said that the light beer at a brew pub or a brewery or anywhere is like wearing no pants. You have nothing to hide. No pants is probably better than naked.
You have nothing. I
don't know about that.
You can't hide anything at that point, right? It's the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
Would you?
So we have nothing to hide at the Royal Brewery.
Would you go so far as to say that you put extra effort into, a lot of brewing, and I'm not trying to insinuate that you don't care about your other beers, but when it's Kolsch Brew Day, do you put your game day hat on and go, okay, it's Kolsch Brew Day? That means I got to be on my game.
No, not. I mean, I do that with every beer. If I do that with a Kolsch, that means I do it with every beer.
Right. Okay. I like that.
Because if it just goes back to that's just how I'm not going to hide any. Obviously, it's easier to make an IPA because you're adding all the hops to it. But I'm still doing the exact same thing with the IPA that I am with the Kolsch. I'm paying attention to my cleaning. I'm paying attention to when I'm adding the hops. I'm paying attention to when I'm adding the yeast and when it's yeast done and all that. I pay attention to everything.
Yeah,
you have to.
You mentioned that over the last few years you've been tweaking it a little bit, and now that you've won GABF Gold, is the temptation to say, okay, I've got it, I'm perfect, I can't change this anymore? Or now do you feel I'm validated, so the next thing I'm going to do is make it even better?
Yeah, we're going to barrel age it now. No, I'm joking. No, I mean, really, I haven't tweaked it that much in the past. I would say almost year. It's pretty much been the same beer since, for the past year, and there's no real reason to tweak it that much. Right. The only tweaking that sometimes happen, is when you're brewing it and you're like, oh shit, I don't have that extra ounce of Saaz hops I was going to throw in there, so there's a little bit less hops in it. I'm a small brew pub, so I don't always have everything I need, whenever I need it. But that's about it. That's about it. Like I'm probably never going to tweak it, but you never know what's going to happen too. With hops and sometimes even malt, like I might not be able to get the hop I use all the time in it. And it's happened in the past, where there's been, I've used one hop for about a year. And then all of a sudden for a few months, you just can't get them anymore. You try to keep up on the contracts and all that stuff, but it happens.
Is that a frustration, or is that an opportunity to flex your skill?
I never get too frustrated with it because, I mean, I don't like saying it this way, but the general population has no idea. Even when you switch the hops, you get like 4 or 5 people.
I have no idea when that happens. So
there's
a lot of really great, you can swap sods for all manner of hops, and 95% of people probably won't be able to, maybe less, I don't know, or more. But so it's good that like hops exist that way, because then you can play and see if something works better, so I can use it to your advantage, or there's a lot of opportunity to be able to tweak without really changing that much.
Exactly. And it happens with malt sometimes too. I mean, during the shutdown and everything like that, like just after that, there's been times where I couldn't get the malt that I always use in the beer. And I had to get something else, or I had to use something else. And at first you get worried that everybody's going to be like, what did you do to the beer? It's completely different. And then you put it on. Typically, as long as you tell nobody that it happened, nobody ever knows.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and granted, like I said, I'm a small brew pub, so I'm selling everything in-house. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of different when everything's out there and all around the place. Like, a batch, is in and out so quick that by the next time somebody comes in, they're going to be drinking a new batch anyways.
Do you can or bottle your Kolsch?
No, we don't. We do growlers. We're
Growlers,
a brew pub in, I don't know where you guys are based out of, but a brew pub in Michigan isn't allowed to distribute.
I did not know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's some of them might be kind of archaic laws, but yeah, as a brew pub license, we're not allowed to distribute, but we're allowed to have other people's wine, liquor, beer, stuff like that. We're a microbrewery. They're allowed to distribute, but they're not allowed to have anybody else's, liquor, beer, wine, cider, anything like that.
Okay.
So if I came in and I wanted a growler to go and drink your Kolsch at home or bring it somewhere, that I can do though, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. And we've got the can steamer, where you do the one can at a time, like you do the growler. Not the best method, but it works. I mean, especially if you're just going to go home and have a couple Kolsches.
So I'll be sending you my address so I can get some.
I can do that. I'm fine with that.
I'm joking. I will come and visit.
Are you sure?
I will drink it there.
All right.
It's better at the brewery. I'm sure.
I want to try it fresh from the tap.
So that's the whole point of Kolsch. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That is true. Exactly. There is something really nice about Kolsch at the source. I think
you have to go during Kolsching hour, actually.
Oh yeah, all right. Let us know when your next Kolsching hour is.
And we'll start that, and then we usually do that in the warmer months. We do it on the patio. It's usually not usually, but it's almost always the second Saturday of every month in the warmer months.
Okay.
So for those who aren't familiar with Detroit, can you just explain, okay, if I'm visiting Detroit for a Wings game or whatever, how do I get to your brewery?
We're honestly only about 15 minutes north of Detroit.
Oh, okay.
It's just a small suburb just north of Detroit. So
that's easy.
Very easy to visit. Don, if you go to wherever you go when you're in Canada, you go somewhere in Ontario, you can drive over and visit.
Just over from Windsor.
Yeah.
Actually, that's super close too.
Yeah. So there you go.
Can I ask a non-Kolsch question?
Yeah, for sure.
I know that you also either regularly make or at least have on occasion made an alt beer.
Yep.
Which is the Dusseldorf rivalry beer, I guess, to Cologne's Kolsch. Do you use the same yeast? How do you approach that beer differently?
It is the same yeast, and that is we won a medal for that. Was it 2019? I won a bronze for the alt beer. I do use the same yeast. I ferment that one a little bit higher than I do the Kolsch. Where Kolsch, I usually ferment, like I said, I ferment it lower than I know every Cologne brewery does, but I ferment it like about 58 degrees typically with Kolsch, between 58 and 62, depending on how fast I need it. And we're alt beer, I usually ferment more around 68.
Okay, so normal ale temperature.
Yeah. You get a little more fruitiness from it.
Right.
I like that. Yeah. How's your hopping rate with alt beer? I like a firm bitterness to my alt beer.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. Like it's definitely a firm bitterness. I think that's another one that, and I don't want to sound like I'm talking shit, but a lot of US breweries tend to like really make their alt beers on the sweet side, where true Dusseldorf alt beers are firm. Like they have a hop bitterness to it.
It's not a brown ale, folks.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, not an amber ale, everybody. It's
exactly. I completely agree. So yeah, you want that in there.
Nice.
It's another drinking beer.
Are you using German malts in the alt beer as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. We're like I said, we're very true to style traditional brewery. It's one of the reasons why I went there, because I love beer. I love the history of beer. I love drinking beer. I love traditional true to style beer. Where when I make like the alt beer or German beer, I use German malts, German hops, German yeast. When I brew an English beer, I use English malt, English hops, English yeast. Like I try to really focus on making my beer taste like it would if you were sitting in Germany or if you were sitting in England. Or obviously, if an American beer, it tastes like an American beer.
Yeah,
I love that.
And
it's
for
little travel, in the pub seat, you get to go places when you try those beers.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just want to say, for the listeners who may have not read the show notes, first of all, shame on you for not reading the show notes. But Jeremy's last name is spelled Altier, so it is awesome that he brews an alt beer. He's just one letter off.
Well, the name of the alt beer is Jeremy Alt Beer.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
And that's what it was great when it won an award, because it said Jeremy Alt Beer in huge letters up on the GABF thing.
And you're like, that's me. And the
yeah,
beer.
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, or plug your when you're open, or how people can get in touch with you or the brewery, social media, anything like that?
Oh, we're obviously on Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if we're on TikTok. I don't think we are. All this stuff on Twitter. So I don't even understand it. My daughter likes it. I don't even know what's going on. But yeah, we're obviously on all that, social media stuff. We are open Tuesday through Sunday, normal, restaurant, brewery hours. We try to do quite a few events. Like I said before, we do Kolsching hour, where we serve Kolsch the traditional way they do in Cologne. In the winter months, we do what we call frost and foam, where we hang out on the patio, and I typically tap like higher alcohol beers, and we drink them on the patio outside in the middle of winter. That's usually the first. I don't know. We haven't completely decided, but usually that's the first or either second Saturday of every month for frost and foam.
Awesome.
I like this drinking outside in all manner of weather kind of thing that you do. It sounds very important to your brewery's culture, and I really enjoy that.
It is. Yeah, we've tried to build all that stuff. Like Kolsching hour started off with 2 tables, outside, and it's grown to like every table on our back patio is filled, and standing room only sometimes. And I'm there slinging Kolsch too. Like I'm not, sitting back and I still enjoy and drink Kolsch while I do it.
Sure.
Just like most, I believe I want to say they're called Kobe's. Yep. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Yeah. Okay. Like they all drink too most of the time. So I'm down in Kolsch's with everybody, hanging out with everybody. And where the frost and foam's the same thing. I show up, we hang out, we drink. Sometimes we do a Scotch ale or a Doppelbock or English Old Ale, something like that. And we hang out there and drink too much of it in the middle of winter and during the day on a Saturday.
Since you are so good at brewing German style beers, I have a request or a challenge for you
Okay.
for Frost and Foam. Ice
All right.
box.
Unless they have a distilling license, unless Michigan's different. In America, you can't brew ice box without a distilling. Yeah, no, because it's illegal. It's technically
you got to be careful with that. And then there's also a brewery, when friends of mine not too far from me, Kunin's. They brew an ice box that is amazing as always.
That's some really good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to, I would love to, and I've thought about it, but like she just said, it's kind of hard I don't really even have the ability to do that the right way. And I try not to, if I don't have the ability to do it, I'm not going to try to even fake it.
Right. Okay. Love it.
Well, brew a nice strong Doppelbock.
Well, that's what I do. Yep. I brew that one almost every year too.
Oh, wonderful. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your award-winning Kolsch. It sounds like what a wonderful Kolsch haven that you work at, and that the brew pub has created. It sounds like a little slice of Cologne, American style Cologne.
We get a lot of people from Cologne, Germany in too. I don't know how they find out about it, but somebody finds out about it.
Oh wow!
They bring all their friends in. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you so much for being on the program.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hi, this is John Hall, the editor of All About Beer, inviting you to check out the Drink Beer, Think Beer podcast. It's available on all of the major platforms, and the weekly show features long-form conversations with brewers, growers, and personalities from the beer industry. New episodes release every Wednesday. Just search Drink Beer, Think Beer.
JP Faflin is the marketing and creative manager at Dovetail Brewery. As one of 4 brewers on staff, she spent time at the Cicerone certification program where she was the exam manager, and she's also an advanced Cicerone. She's interested in traditions in brewing and beer service, which is where her background really dovetails with her enthusiasm for the industry. Welcome to the show, JP.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, I want to talk about Kolsch Night at Dovetail, but first, can you start talking about what your role is at Dovetail and a little bit about the brewery?
Sure. My name is JP. I am the marketing and creative manager at Dovetail Brewery in Chicago, on the north side of the city. I'm also one of 4 brewers here at the brewery. And Dovetail, quite simply, we've been around for 6.5 years, opened in 2016, focusing in continental European styles. So we also focus on traditional methods. If you were to come to our brewery, you might see things that you don't see in a lot of American breweries. So we like to say that we brew like monks minus the vows.
Nice. So the reason that you're on is because you do a Kolsch night. And that is very exciting to me as someone who just came back from their second trip to Cologne. I love all things Kolsch. And so can you talk a little bit about, how the Kolsch night at Dovetail started? Like, who was like, hey, let's do, all these pours and get the glassware and the crants and all that stuff. So how did that start?
Sure. I think that was, part of the original point of view of the brewery, as I mentioned before, has always been continental European styles and traditional methods. And in that world is also a big part of it has to do with traditional service. So right out of the gate, things that were important to Dovetail was that the service aspect meant just as much as the beer that was being poured. I like to say that there's a really good Czech beer proverb that goes something like, it's the brewer that makes the beer, but it's the bartender that completes it. And that's very much part of the philosophy of Dovetail when you come to our tap room. So naturally, Kolsch service, being part of a beer tradition, a Central European, or not Central, continental European beer tradition, was something that kind of fell naturally to us. And I'm not sure who was the first person that said, yeah, we should have Kolsch service, but I'm pretty sure the second that Kolsch was put on the production calendar, Kolsch service was immediately part of the plan at some point. We definitely wanted to make sure that we were serving it in sangas, which is these circular, of course they're circular, the glasses. They're like rod-shaped glasses. I think sanga means rod in German. And that's just the way that it's served in Cologne, usually 200 milliliters, and you keep on getting served until you say stop, which is pretty much Kolsch service in a nutshell. There are members at Dovetail who used to work for an importer called Artisanal Imports, and they were very influential. They brought in a lot of brands that, from Belgium and Germany that went on to influence a lot of American brewers. One of those brands was Zuner, Zuner being one of the Kölsch breweries. And for me, the first time that I ever came face to face with what Kolsch service was this promo event in Chicago about 10 years ago called Hot Zuner Nights. And for me, I've never been to Cologne. It's I haven't been there yet. I would love to one day, but it just made that beer a little bit more magical in a way. And I think that's ultimately what the experience of Kolsch Night at Dovetail is bringing a little bit of that tradition to Chicago.
When you do have the Kolsch nights at Dovetail, do you only serve the Kolsch, which is, kind of part of it in Cologne? But wondering if I were to walk into Dovetail on Kolsch night, could I order a Helles?
Nope.
Okay, perfect.
It's just Kolsch. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's as traditional as it gets.
I mean, we're still ultimately, in Chicago. I never say anything about Dovetail as authentic because we're not trying to be authentic. I think we take our inspirations certainly from different brewing traditions. But what I'd say is if you want the actual traditional authentic experience, you're going to have to go to Cologne, and you should. But we give ourselves, I think, or we give our people that visit our Kolsch night a pretty cool experience and a taste of what a Kolsch night might be like in Germany.
How do you actually have the proper kranzes as well, and how
we
far
do
you extend? Oh, awesome! That's just amazing.
Yeah, so we do, and the people serving that night, our staff, kind of have to do. It's a workout for them to carry those kranzes around for a few hours and load them up with beer. But yeah, yep, they definitely flex some muscles on Kolsch night for sure.
And you tick the bar mat and everything?
Yes, we do.
Yep, perfect. Awesome.
Yep.
Sorry.
It's how many beers can you fit in the crans? For those who don't know, the crans is the tray that has a handle at the top where the beer comes from. So when you're serving, you walk around, the guy has a bunch, and he or she will bring you beer on the crans, which is the tray.
The Kobe.
Yeah,
The server is called a Kobe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So we have two versions, one that holds 11, and 11 is a very significant number in Kolsch history, and then one that holds 18 as well. So
why is 11 a significance in Kolsch?
I would have to throw that over to a historian, but if you look on their coat of arms, there's so Carnival kicked off at 11/11, November 11th. at 1111. And then if you look at their coat of arms, the sequence of 11 shows up in there as well.
Huh.
Yeah.
So,
I've read about it before, and it's gone and went in one ear and out the other. So I don't want to like misrepresent it, but 11 is an important number. And I'm not sure if that's why there's 11 spots in the crowns, but it seems pretty romantic to think that's why.
yeah. So if I'm at Dovetail at Kolsch night and the Kobe tries to serve me a Stange from a 18 holding crowns, I'm going to refuse it. Because it's not the 11.
This is not 11. Oh, wait, no, you're never, John, when have you ever refused a Kolsch?
Oh, that's true.
Come on now. Do you do the gravity dispense too, or are you pouring off a?
No, we're pouring off of a keg. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't know if you had a Stickfass or like a cask for that night specifically, but
no.
Okay.
So
how? Go ahead. No, go ahead, John.
I was just going to ask if Kolsch, if you serve Kolsch kind of in your regular lineup as well, or only on Kolsch night.
Oh yeah, it's one of our core beers.
Okay.
So we have what is called our core four. So we have a Helles, a Hefeweizen, a Vienna, and then the Kolsch rounds that out.
Okay, awesome.
And how many times have you done this Kolsch night? Because I've seen it on social media, and it looks quite popular. Do you get a big crowd?
Yeah, it's grown each time. So I believe the one we just had a couple weeks ago was our fourth Kolsch night. And it started like the first one we did was like a few tables up on the second floor of our brewery. And then we did it outside on the sidewalk. This was like just after we were, people were able to get their, what's the word I'm looking for? Vaccinated. And so we decided that was like our first, we're still in the pandemic. I can't call it post-pandemic. But that was the first time that we had an event since we had to shut down in 2020. But we did it in I hope was a thoughtful way. So we did it there on our sidewalk, and then over the summer we did one in our parking lot, and then this past one we took over even more of our parking lot and had some heated tents, and it exceeded our expectations. Like, do not underestimate a Chicagoan desire to drink just one beer in 30-degree weather. They will show up.
That's awesome. Love it.
And were you doing food pairings as well? Is there food served?
Did, yeah. So we did. We have a great partner called Beard and Belly. They started out of a kitchen in one of the great Chicago beer bars called the Long Room, which is not too far away from us. And they've been friends of ours for a long time. So they come and they love to do pop-up events with us. And they have a sausage guy. So we did do a blood sausage for Kolsch night. And then they did their version of Heaven and Earth as well. So they were kind of nods to what you would find as traditional pairings if you were to go to one of the Kolsch breweries in Cologne.
Can I make a suggestion for future Kolsch nights? Because I ate it in two. I ate it in Pfaffen and I ate it at Gildan. Fried camembert.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
And it came with a cranberry jam and brown bread and a salad, so you can pretend like you're being healthy. And it was so good with the Kolsch. Just a suggestion for next time. I was just really enamored with that food pairing. Also, cheese. I love cheese.
Well, on the cheese, I also have a suggestion. A uniquely Köln dish is something they call the half Hahn, which means the half hen. And contrary to the name, it is a slice of cheese on a bun.
I've read about that before. Yes.
And they like to trick the tourists with it because, of course, the tourists, they order a half hen and they get a piece of cheese on a bun. So, and I'm oversimplifying it. Of course, it is a very, it's a particular.
It's very delicious.
Yes, it's a particular type of cheese on a particular bun, but I like bun.
I'm a former Wisconsinite, so you can't trick me with cheese on a bun. So I would be delighted to be served cheese on a bun.
For those who maybe don't know, can you maybe describe kind of how the whole Kolsch service works, and how I think a lot of people think it means unlimited drinking, and they imagine drunk people all over the place. So how do you control how much people drink and all that?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So when you show up to a Dovetail Kolsch night, there's definitely people who are experiencing this type of service for the first time, and the people that will greet you will give you a rundown of how our night works. So this is how our night works. You come to Dovetail, and we'll hand you a coaster. So this is basically your document for the night, your receipt for the night. You get a coaster, you sit down at one of our communal tables, because we did keep it as communal as possible. We also think that was especially special to the spirit of these types of events. And once you sit down, someone will come around, a server comes around with a crans, and will set a stanga of Kolsch in front of you. And they'll take a marker and they'll mark the edge of your beer mat or your coaster, starting with hash marks. And that kind of keeps track of how much beer you're drinking throughout the night. When you're ready to stop drinking, and for the most part, people, it's self-regulatory, right? Most people know their limits. And I would say, like, out of the 4 times that we've done this, we've never seen or had anyone get out of control with their drinking. And we do say, like, there is this thing where if you do get hash marks around the entire bar mat, it's called completing a hedgehog. We do say if you want to try for a hedgehog, that you're doing this with a group of friends, that you're drinking thoughtfully. And for the most part, like, just people tend to be very self-regulatory about these things. So I would say that hasn't been a problem. But once you're done drinking, you'll place the coaster on top of your glass, and that signifies that you are done for the night. And you'll bring that up to check out, and we'll just add up all the hash marks. Then you're on your merry way, and you can keep your coaster as a document of the night. Usually when we explain this to people, and I this past Kolsch night, I was next to the host stand, and more than one person, as we were done explaining it, would be like, "Oh, it's like Brazilian steakhouse style service." And we're like, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's
you put
like
your little
that,
red.
the red thing, green thing, or the red, basta is go, and or it's basta stuff. I was just in Brazil and I don't remember. Oh, don't tell anyone. What is the ABV of your Kolsch?
It's 4.2.
Okay. Oh, so
and we're only serving it in 200 milliliters.
So you're doing it in the traditional glass, size.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I would say most people do maybe 3 or 4, which is about a liter of beer over the course of a night. So
right, very civilized.
And you had special, like, you had new designs for Kolsch night. You had some really nice looking glassware I saw online. Were those specific for Kolsch night, or?
Yes, so that one we did a partnership with the Chicago Brewseum, which is a nonprofit that dedicates itself to exploring the history and culture and the intersection of beer and history and its culture. And they are looking to one day have a permanent space, but right now they do what is called the Beer Culture Summit every fall in the city. And it's just a wonderful 3-day event that, covers everything from to the tide houses that used to exist in Chicago to tavern culture to the black brewers that are currently brewing in the city of Chicago and being inspired by one of our black neighborhoods of Bronzeville and creating a beer around that. And then Dovetail Kolsch Night was a part of that. So it was a part of, showcasing a piece of beer culture that you might not necessarily come across very often.
Cool.
So,
so
I guess
cool,
going back
yeah.
to that is, I should say, so the Stanga was designed specifically for that event. And we did one for when we brewed our 100th batch of Kolsch. That was kind of a big deal to us. So we did a 100th batch release party. And then the basic design right now is kind of a riff on the coat of arms that you'll find in Cologne.
Oh.
When will the next one be so Don and I can come down?
Yes, it's a
And-
direct flight
that
for
was
me.
my
Very easy to get there.
yeah.
Yeah. Ideally, we would like to do 3 a year. So one in the spring, one in the summer, and then one in the fall before it gets too cold.
So
Awesome.
cool. Yeah, it's really cool. I love different beer cultures. I think especially like all over the world, there's so many different ways for service, so many different ways to serve beer. And Cologne and its neighboring Dusseldorf for alt beer has a really unique service. And I just think that's really cool that you guys are bringing it to Chicago and to America in a really authentic and unique, nice way. I'm very pleased about that. But that makes sense given Dovetail. You guys are, I'm a big fan. So
Thank you.
I do have one kind of brewing question, and our other guest on this episode talked more about the brewing, but since we have you on the show, JP, and Dovetail does something unique in terms of having a cool ship. And so I wanted to, if you could just explain, because I think a lot of people think of cool ship, automatically think of spontaneously fermented,
Sure.
which is not the way you use your cool ship. And so I was wondering if you could explain what's unique about how you use your cool ship and what you think that does to make your beer particularly special.
So we do use our cool ship in 2 ways. I call our cool ship a dual ship. So we use our cool ship in what you mentioned, the Belgian or the Sena Valley tradition. We do spontaneously fermented beers here at Dovetail, but we also use it in the Franconian and Czech tradition. So it's kind of a thing that's being seen less and less in Czechia and in Franconia, but each brewery used to have a cool ship, and it was exactly used as what it sounds like it was for. It was for cooling wort. So each one of our beers does go through the cool ship, whether or not it's one of our spontaneously fermented beers or our Kolsch or Helles or Vienna, our Saison, you name it. It all goes through the cool ship, partly because we don't have a whirlpool here. So that kind of substitutes the part of the whirlpool process when we do send the wort up to the cool ship after the boil. What happens there is, the trub settles to the bottom, and then it blows off a precursor for DMS. So those are a couple of things or benefits to cool shipping. But also there's just kind of a certain je ne sais quoi about a cool ship beer, about a cool ship ale or lager that's not spontaneously fermented, that we just enjoy.
How long does it stay in the cool ship before you put it in the fermenter?
Sure. So it's only in the cool ship for about an hour. So going from the boil kettle up into the cool ship takes about a half hour. And it's still near boiling, right?
So so it's just acting as your whirlpool.
Exactly. And then we'll send it down to our fermentation cellar to be pitched, to go into the fermenter and be pitched and whatnot. once it hits 75 degrees Celsius. So we feel like that gives it enough time to still be somewhat safe in the cool ship and make it down to through the heat exchanger and get cooled to, if we're doing a lager, we're cooling it down to like 9 Celsius. So it's a very short time in the cool ship. And the temperature stays such, like I said, 75 degrees Celsius, where it's still protected and it shouldn't get spoilage at that point in the process.
Have you ever had problems with spoilage?
Not from the cool ship.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I love it. And do you still, I mean, maybe I'm getting too geeky here, but I would imagine that all that air exposure helps with yeast growth too. Do you also still oxygenate the wort when you put it in the ferment?
Yeah.
Okay.
We do. Mm-hmm. We do oxygenate the wort on its first turn. Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. So cool.
I just love it.
Yeah. Don's our resident nerd here at the All About Beer podcast. So
well, and there's 10,000 breweries in America, and so maybe there is another one that does what you do, JP. But but I think Dovetail is the only one that uses a cool ship in this fashion for
right.
So
I do
awesome.
think there's more. I think there are more breweries that are looking into using their cool ships in the kind of Franconian Czech way as well. But I think, what is it out of the East Coast? It's like OEC. Is that?
Oh, yeah, they're in Connecticut. OEC. They have a cool ship, and they do a lager cool ship, but I don't know in what capacity. And length they are staying in, but they use their cool ship for a lot of different things. So
because I noticed like they call their Czech dark lager, like I think it's like a cool ship Czech dark lager or a cool ship Helles or a cool ship. So
they have some they've got some really crazy. They have like square fermenters and weird. Yeah, it's a real. That's a nerdy place. So
I have to go there too.
Yeah, but they're also they're owned by a importer, so you can get they're owned by B United, and you can get fresh Schlenkerla draft there, and that's what I drink when I go there because I'm like, oh, Schlenkerla Meriton, yes please, in a pint, yes please. So
yeah, I don't know. I think maybe like just inferring by what they say on their labels, they might be using it in that way. But I'm not sure. We're not. I would say, there's probably less than a handful of breweries who might be doing, who might be cool shipping their lagers in this way, or they're not spontaneously fermented beer, I should say.
So cool, very cool stuff. So
yeah, I love it, and I am very, very firmly of the belief that great beer comes from doing a whole bunch of things that make very little difference. It's the accumulation of using a cool ship and all these little things that I think makes beer amazing. So thank you for doing that.
Of course, yeah.
And thank you for being on our podcast. And please let us know when your next Kolsch night is. And Don and I will try to get out there because I don't need an excuse to visit Chicago because it's one of my favorite places on earth. But I would love to align it to visit Kolsch night.
That would be amazing to host you guys. And thanks for letting me talk about Kolsch night. I hope it wasn't too rambly.
No, I want to ramble about Kolsch forever. But it's time to go. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, JP.
All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, have a great weekend.
Yes, you as well. Yes, cheers.
All right. Bye.
See ya. Don, I want a Kolsch.
I always want a Kolsch, but yes, especially now.
That's true. It was so fascinating learning about how the thing about Kolsch is you're like you said at the beginning of the show, there's a magic to it and it's simple tweaks. You think that, 4 simple ingredients, the water, the hops, yeast, malt, you really have nothing to hide. And so when a brewer can really showcase their brewing talents and win a gold medal, it shows that they're a great brewery and one to watch out for. So it made me really appreciate the style even more. And I didn't even know I could do that.
and it's, I just thought of this. It's Reinheitsgebot at its finest, really. Like
absolutely
it is simplicity. And I think that there's a temptation, I think, for artists, and I do consider brewers to be artists, but I think very often there's a temptation for artists to try too hard to prove that their effort is worth it. And from what we learned from our guests is that Kolsch is about not trying too hard. It's about celebrating the simplicity and just good practices.
And drinking beer with friends and enjoying the service of it too, because it is very unique.
Yes, I agree.
There are a lot of beer styles that have unique cultures and traditions in drinking, but I really enjoy Kolsch, I think, the most of all. It's all about spending time with people, meeting people, hanging out with people, drinking tiny beers, tiny cold beers brought to you on a tray. I mean, what's more to love?
Yeah, and there's no choice. Like when it's not like you sit at a bar in Cologne and there's 20 taps to choose from, so it's not about ticking beers, even though of course it's ticking on the coaster, but it's about celebrating good company and having beer as an accompaniment to your evening as opposed to the purpose of the evening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it. So visit allaboutbeer.com and follow us on social media at allaboutbeer.
And please visit patreon.com/allaboutbeer to support this show and others like it. And if you have any questions for us or suggestions, please drop us an email, podcast@allaboutbeer.com. That's email for everything.
So what are we talking about next week? Or have we thought about it yet?
Craft malt.
Oh, we're talking about craft malt. Yeah,
yes.
That's going to be wonderful. I'm really looking forward to learning about malt. Doesn't get talked about a lot,
No.
But it's so important. Unbelievable. It's the soul of the beer. So
Great
I'm
food comes from great ingredients. So
absolutely. So
yeah.
I really look forward to that. And I look forward to talking with you next time and talking to our great guests. And yeah, wonderful.
In the meantime, Em, where can people reach you?
Yes. I am at www.pintsandpanels.com and at Pints and Panels across all social media. And what about you, Don?
On all social media, I'm at The Dawn of Beer, and my website is thedawnofbeer.com.
Wonderful. This show is produced by All About Beer. Visit allaboutbeer.com for articles, notes on this show and others, and to connect via the website and social media. Cheers!
Cheers!